Hello, welcome to Compelling. I'm Katy Wellesley-Wesley. With 18 years of experience in the art world, ranging from senior positions at blue-chip galleries to startups, I'm now a Paris-based consultant to brands, foundations, artists, and collectors. Thank you for joining me to listen to Compelling, a podcast exploring the intersection of art, culture, and luxury. I'll be interviewing visionary artists, cultural leaders, and brand innovators to find out how storytelling, mastery of craft, and collaboration come together to build community, engage audiences, and shape lasting legacies. Compelling offers listeners fresh perspectives on the ideas and aesthetics shaping luxury businesses and culture today. Today's episode is a wide-ranging conversation with Rafael de Cárdenas, designer and creative director and founder of his eponymously named studio. Based in New York, Rafael has maintained a multifaceted international practice since 2006, spanning residential and commercial interiors, architecture, furniture design, art advisory, and brand development. His work moves fluidly between private homes and global brands, but always with a distinctive clarity of vision. His clients have included Nike, Kenzo, Baccarat, Skims, Cartier, Nordstrom, and Piaget, with projects across the United States, Europe, and Asia. The studio has received numerous awards, and in 2017, his work was the subject of a monograph published by Rizzoli. Rafael's approach resists easy categorization. It's disciplined, yet expressive, historically aware, and yet contemporary, grounded in architecture, but deeply engaged with fashion, art, and visual culture. Rafael's studio celebrates its 20th year this year, and in our conversation, we reflect on the concoction of taste, skill, influences, relationships, and chance that brought him to this moment. I'm delighted to welcome Rafael. Thank you very much for agreeing to be a guest on Compelling.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I think of you as everybody does by now, as not only a designer and an architect, interior designer, art advisor, but also as a kind of cultural commentator, or certainly somebody who's pretty good at taking the temperature of the cultural climate, and all of these things are
hopefully
make you a really a bit of a unicorn, I think, in the world of design, that you have these different interests and intellectual curiosities that are kind of woven together for a worldview. I am very excited to hear about your beginnings and what led you to where you are today. What was the kind of young Rafael's environment like?
Born and raised in New York, which, I at the time I thought I was, very lucky to have, and that hasn't necessarily changed. I grew up in New York at a time when New York was this kind of sort of singular beacon of culture, or a certain type of culture in the world. But I think I was drawn to like downtown subculture and things that weren't mainstream. And I think that in part, I assume, I don't know this completely, but I think it's because I was also concealing the fact that I was gay and didn't even know what that was, right? Didn't put words to it. But I mean, I've never not been gay, let's put it that way. And it was something to kind of look towards a life that felt appealing to me, that I could live in New York City and I could see it, So to some degree, I had my nose pressed up against the glass, but I did see it, and that was comforting, or comfort, aspirational.
Are you talking about sort of downtown culture? Are you talking specifically about the gay culture?
I wouldn't say gay culture necessarily. I think that I was very I read magazines from an early age, and magazines were sort of not magazines or popular culture wasn't this algorithm of the lowest common denominator that it is now. It was directional, and there was kind of aspiration built into a lot of these things. So I remember reading Vogue and reading Egg was a magazine, Details, the original Details before Condé Nast bought it. I was very aware of the things that were going on. I was very aware of nightclub culture and how all these lifestyles converged, right? Downtown, high society, rich people, club kids, drag queens. And those were things that were visible. They weren't necessarily hermetically sealed from the rest of the city. Like they were part of the city. Like New York is like in New York, like everyone takes a subway, everyone's on the street, like you're kind of densely packed. So you see like all of it all the time. And so, I wouldn't say gay necessarily, but like I would say art culture was the thing that I was looking at, was like in the world that was led by the arts, which did kind of like was sort of part of nightlife and was sort of part of like, underground music and things like that. And I would read about it, since like, I don't know, 8 years old, 9 years old.
And then at what point did you start to feel like you were participating in it?
I don't know that I ever did. I think it ended before that's not totally true. I sort of like I never really had like a fully coming out. I just kind of like was gay, but long and short of it, in middle school, I was bullied a lot. And I learned that I couldn't use physical strength, which I didn't have, to like beat up the bullies, right? But what I did have was I was generally quicker than them, like smarter, maybe not necessarily smarter, but like more clever. Like I sort of developed like these like snaps, these jokes, right? These, not jokes, but like snaps, like I don't know how else, like teases, right? And then in high school, I was funny. I was like, I wouldn't say class clown, because I kind of directed things in a very self-aware way. I crafted this identity that was like funny and sharp-witted, and it appealed to the popular girls, like the mean girls, for lack of a better word. So the mean girls in high school protected me. And they weren't mean, but I'm just using that as a sort of catchphrase. They protected me. And one of those was this girl, Jen Gation, who's the daughter of Peter Gation, who owned all the nightclubs, Limelight, Palladium, Tunnel, and we were going to nightclubs like when we were 14, with like drink tickets and velvet ropes and like VIP treatment. Like that adrenaline rush is so awesome.
I think there's nothing really compares to the newness of the first time you experience things. I mean, it's very difficult to ever replicate that. I'm going to ask you a little bit about where you started, which is in fashion at Calvin Klein. And you have said about it that actually, as seductive as it was really the spectacle and the shows that really hooked you.
Calvin kind of insisted that the office be the culture that he wanted it to be, that it was the fantasy that he wanted it to be. There was this culture, right? You had to kind of wear Calvin, you had to dress in black and white and stuff like that. So Calvin wasn't necessarily it wasn't the show that had the spectacle, but it did have this precision, right? Like the clothes, the show itself, the environment, like every Calvin Klein office in the world looked exactly the same, like felt exactly the same. Like, and so I think that I kind of learned this idea of branding, whether I follow it or not. It was very well done. But I think in general, the 90s was like a time that like fashion felt, it was still insider culture, but it was very, very outlandish and performance-based, and it still was rooted in nightlife culture, right? Like fashion shows were often at night, and they kind of like led into parties and stuff like Galliano and Alexander McQueen and Hussein Chalayan. Like a lot of these shows were really, really special. So I was so aware of them. I was like in Calvin Klein for like 4.5 years, and then in that time, I just sort of I thought I was going to come back to fashion in another way, I guess. So I went to architecture school, and I ended up going to UCLA for architecture school, and I was following these two people, Greg Lynn and Sylvia Lavin, who were a couple of them. But Greg Lynn was sort of like he was leading the charge in like parametric architecture and kind of like blobby architecture, for lack of a better word. And Frank Gehry, like there was a Herbert Muchamp quote. Herbert Muchamp was the architecture editor of the New York Times for most of the 80s, like 80s and 90s. And he wrote this review of the Bilbao Guggenheim where he compares the building to Marilyn Monroe. And he basically says the building is the reincarnation of Marilyn Monroe. And the way he described the building felt very liberating, and it felt very it felt like welcoming. It felt like I could see myself participating and looking at a building that looked like that. I was like, oh, wait, there's something here for me, because buildings that look like that suggest alternative lifestyle, right? In my mind.
Does she remain a mentor today?
They remain mentors from afar. I'm not in regular contact with them. I'm not out of I've been in contact with them since I finished architecture school 24 years ago. But I think that there was this idea that I was going to be part of architectural academia, which is very much its own practice that has almost nothing to do with the practice of architecture in a larger way.
And I mean, you said that it happened somewhat by accident, the kind of founding of the studio, and asked to do Parker Posey's apartment, and then a store for a friend who was a jewelry designer. Am I getting this right?
Not a jewelry designer,
No?
but it was like a beauty shop.
And so these were the beginnings?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I really did not know what I was doing. I mean, Parker Posey's apartment, I think it was cool because it was like led by her. I landed here accidentally. So this was my dream. So the positive of that is I didn't have like some look or some like, I'm not like, John Pawson or Deborah Burke or Frank Gehry. Like, I wasn't championing anything. I was like, Parker Posey, she is like a campy actress who does character acting very well. That suggests something to me, right? Chairs made of horseshoes and things like that, driftwood coffee tables, right? And I wouldn't say that that was like so self-aware. It was more like speaking to her, going in the world, seeing things, and curating the vocabulary that I think went with her life. And yeah, I lost money on both of those projects. Like I didn't know what I was doing, and I made a lot of mistakes.
This seems to be, I mean, your ability to make close relationships and network, and then understand not just who people are or what they want, even if they're unable to articulate it, but also to kind of reflect back at a person or a project, something of its character that makes them feel like, okay, I belong in this space that Rafael's created for me. It seems to me that's your essential skill.
So I'm not an architect. Like, I came from that world, respectfully. They don't want me. I don't want them. We're good. I found interior design via architecture, which when I was in architecture school is still very much a modernist tradition, high modernism, and interior design was feminine, bad, superfluous. And I don't know if I made this up or I heard someone say it. Could be that I heard Sylvia say it, but like, for lack of a better word, interior design is sort of drag, right? It's like creating a new identity for architecture, and that, however subversive it feels to architects, is what appealed to me. That thought that you could walk into a building but feel the interior could be a completely different experience, which is so much of what cities are, right? All that's to say is that, like, I didn't have a project. And so interior design is always an opportunity to try on new drag, try on new costumes, new wigs, new makeup. Like, what is this space going to be and what does it feel like? As opposed to like perfecting the same thing over and over again, which is, I think, what most designers, musicians, most artists, like, I think that like they have like this one idea that they've been doing. I was interested in all of it. Music, art, culture. I just knew that I wanted out of what I was in and want to be part of this thing. And I found it. Like, I found something, but it's like any of it would have been good enough, is what I'm saying. Like, I would have been able to do it anywhere, I think. I never had expectations, as I previously said. But had I had them, I've definitely exceeded them. Like, I did not expect to have the career that I have had.
This season of Compelling is presented in partnership with Cahiers d'Art, the legendary Paris publisher founded in 1926 at the crossroads of modern and contemporary art. For nearly a century, Cahiers d'Art has collaborated with icons like Picasso, Duchamp, and Calder, and continues today with leading voices such as Ellsworth Kelly, Philip Perino, Arthur Jaffa, and Rosemary Trockel. Cahiers d'Art is also the home of the legendary Picasso catalogue raisonné, known as the Zervos. This definitive 33-volume record of Picasso's work is one of the most important art publications of the 20th century. At the heart of its programme is La Revue, a landmark publication dedicated to artists shaping the past, present, and future of art. And beyond publishing, Cahiers d'Art is also a gallery on Rue de Dragon in Paris, a space where art, culture, and ideas continue to meet. Discover more at cahierdart.com or experience it yourself in Saint-Germain-des-Prés. So going back to not knowing at the beginning, but there must be some things that have remained sort of consistent in your approach, and then other things that you are really aware now, 20 years into the mission, you have changed. Can you identify them?
Okay, I guess every project, like I'm still insecure when I started because I'm like, why does people hire me? Like, how do I even know what I'm doing here? Like I am not an expert in anything. And so there's a little bit of whatever, fraud.
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome, exactly. I wouldn't say that the approach has ever changed, except that I probably arrive at ideas, good or bad. I arrive at ideas much more quickly than I did because I have a pretty big bag of tricks at this point. Like I've done a lot of things that I feel could work in every instance. And I also am a pretty voracious consumer of culture. I read lots of things. I watch lots of things. And I remember them. And I remember everything I've ever watched. I remember, I remember how I felt, what those things represented to me. Like when Catherine O'Hara died, I would probably not have before ever acknowledged that she was some sort of like hero to me. But when she died, I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like she was such a constant in so many pivotal films of my life or pivotal pop culture moments. And like I thought of Delia Dietz in Beetlejuice as an example because I remember like you're supposed to not like her and you're supposed to think that she's ruining this house, right? I don't know if you saw the first Beetlejuice.
Yes, of course.
But like I liked it. I liked what she did. Like I was like, this is cool to me. I want to be her, right? I want to be that. And I don't think that's funny. I guess like the world thinks, or so many people have often thought that my interest in some of these things, like Pee Wee Herman, or Beetlejuice, or The Hunger, these movies that I kept coming back to over and over again because they were like atmospheric. I didn't care about the punchline. I cared about like finding myself, and I knew that when I was at school and was around other people in my young adult life, I was like not like these people. Whatever that meant. When I was younger, it was being gay. And to some degree, when you're gay, you kind of conceal parts of your life for the rest of your life. You're taught to like not share how and who you love. And so you are always concealing certain things. And you conceal some things that might out you or out you more. So I didn't want to like say that I loved Pee Wee Herman so much because I could be labeled a freak, right? But I wanted to be the freak because in my mind, I already was. So I saw that and I was like, oh, I can participate. There is room for all of these other things, right? These other identities or things. I don't know if that answered your question. It seemed like a very
but
roundabout.
you're bringing me on to something else, which again, we had a little, for the listeners, we had a pre-chat yesterday, and there was this idea that we were discussing of high culture meets low culture, and now, of course, there's this kind of meshing somewhere in the middle where collaborations between sort of ultra luxury fashion houses and kind of trainer brands and things like that, and part of that is an accessibility strategy, actually, for those luxury brands that want to promote aspiration from people who never thought that was something that could belong to them. If there's suddenly a collaboration, it helps people to feel that they can put themselves there. And what you're describing, you're describing Pee Wee Herman, or the identification with characters that were kind of hate figures or sort of almost comedic. I mean, we watched 101 Dalmatians over the weekend with my kids for the first time. Cruella de Vil. This is, for me, from
the cartoon.
The cartoon.
Yeah, so good.
Cruella de Vil, for me, remains, I think, the ultimate sort of incarnation, obviously in a fictitious way, of wickedness. And now when I look at her, I mean, she's got a teaspoon on her bedside table. She's got these cheekbones. I mean, she's a junkie.
Yeah.
And I never saw that before. And but anyway, I'm kind of deviating. But what I'm interested in is this idea of the high low and what that means really for culture, for design. Where does it take you? I feel like I've now asked a very unclear question.
Well, no, if I understand your question correctly, I'm going to answer it in a roundabout way. I think that the algorithm, right? There was this Gen X article, and I actually can't remember the writer. She wrote this cover story for the New York Times about Generation X. Mm-hmm. So there were two people that were sort of credited with potentially coining the term Gen X. One of them was very clear. He was like, Gen X is, 65 to 80. Like, that's 65 to 80. Mm-hmm. And he said 60 to 65 is lost generation. 45 to 60 is boomer. Mm-hmm. Like, very clear. Didn't really go into lost generation. And then this other person said, if you remember JFK's assassination, mm-hmm. if you remember it happening, you are Gen X. Sorry, you are a boomer. Mm-hmm. If you don't remember it, you are Gen X.
Okay.
It was striking to me because in college and university, I had this MCM 11 tag. So when I went towards you kind of have this like cross programming with Brown University, and I took lots of MCM classes, modern culture and media classes at Brown, which in the 90s, those classes were, just semiotics. Like, it was like post-structuralist theory, very, very, it was gold. It was like, just like a world that I wish we still lived in. And Marianne Doan, who was the professor, I remember she said, as a matter of fact, modernism ended the moment JFK got assassinated. And that was the beginning of postmodernism. And I remember like students sort of challenging her, like, well, isn't this perspective only based on the United States? And she said, I would say this perspective is like based on like everyone who was observing in the West, because in 1963, the United States was the most, like, it was what everyone was looking towards. Mm-hmm. And JFK was perfection. It was like America's royal family. Mm-hmm. And he was assassinated. And she says the innocence of modernism like died.
Was shattered, yeah.
Yeah. And so like that was the beginning of postmodernism.
Have you found your New York Times cover story?
Amanda Fortini. Shout out to Amanda Fortini. She's a New York Times culture writer. And she writes, as Amanda Fortini writes in the New York Times, is Gen X actually the greatest generation? Hunting down an obscure film. This is a direct quote. Hunting down an obscure film, checking out the band your friend told you about, asking the clerk at the used bookstore to recommend a zine. What an algorithm now does used to be an act of creativity and will. You felt like you could go through life on the a la carte menu, taking what you need, fashioning a self in the process. So I guess the interesting thing is that it feels like there was choice, more choice, right? Like you liked this and you could gravitate towards it, but you also could find other things along the way. And I feel like the algorithm, gives you more of what you like And I think, and there was a time when I liked that, by the way. Like, I feel like at the beginning of SoundCloud and Spotify, like, I heard music that I wasn't aware of because, you know, and maybe now, you know, it gives you the lowest common denominator. I guess the result of that is Taylor Swift. And I'm not like, I don't want to be critical of Taylor Swift. There's nothing wrong with Taylor Swift. Like, but there's nothing aspirational about Taylor Swift. Like, Taylor Swift is a white girl who sings songs that she's not breaking ground in music. She's not breaking ground in identity. She's not breaking ground. She's not like, there's nothing new in anything Taylor Swift does. And you can challenge me on this. I don't know that much about her, right? I'm also like a dinosaur speaking. But like, Madonna was shocking because she was directional. She was breaking taboos. She was, you know, I mean, like, you know, two men kissing in Truth or Dare was the first time that happened in a wide release film ever, right? Like, there are these things, and the way that she dressed, and like having like Jean-Paul Gaultier design the costumes, like the most like sort of subversive or subculture designer design, like this, what was like the biggest pop star, right? We don't have that.
No.
We don't have that. Like that does not exist anymore. And I hate being my parents who always said, however good I thought I had it, like they had it better. It was more exciting. But I feel like that's sad. That's not to say that there aren't lots of things that I do like. And I'm actually like interested in like, you know, commentary on AI. Like I'm not like anti-AI because it's happening, right? And it's here and it's going to like take over and it's going to like end humanity somehow. And I'm here for it, right? I'm like here, like, end it sooner than you were planning. But I was listening to this podcast, like Peter Wolfendale recently. And this is like stuff that I don't really understand so much, if I'm being honest, but I'm interested in. And he was talking about that AI will at some point create things that may not be appreciated by humans.
I mean, that's wild, isn't it?
I mean, but that was sort of like the good news to me. That was like exciting. That was like, oh, that's so crazy that there might be like this whole other, you know, parallel universe, right? Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, wow. We were speaking also yesterday a little bit about the kind of current global mood. It is interesting now. I mean, the world is changing. The political landscape, especially, I mean, in America, has changed radically with the second term of Trump. You are spending quite a lot of time between Europe and America. So I think that you have a pretty good view on sort of what the relationship is and what it means for sort of arts and culture and design, especially that being your area. What are your takeaways? What do you think?
Well, I think it's easy to be doomsday reading news headlines these days. There are no people that look like me in my business. Like, you know, I'm like a short, brownish guy with, you know, no family money or connections. Just a lot of references and like, you know, ability to kind of maybe endear myself with certain types of people at a cocktail party. But I have a strong European perspective because basically my entire career has been sort of split between the two continents, but I'm American and I see the world as an American. And I fought for my Americanness. Like I have my entire life been asked where I'm from, and white people don't get asked. I mean, and then I know a lot of people say I'm white, and I'm like, I'm white, sure, like when you want me to be, and sometimes I'm not. And I don't have a chip on my shoulder or anything about these things. I'm just bringing up all the complexities of, you know, just being alive. But I'm in the soup. I wanted to be American. It's what I wanted. I didn't like that my parents weren't American. I didn't like that my dad had a strong accent. That, you know, I didn't want those things. I wanted to be like the kids at school, right? And just be American. So I'm not going to give it up that easily. Like when people are like, oh, you're going to leave. I'm like, no, I'm not leaving. Like, it's like, I'm American. There was probably in the first Trump term, I was like, oh my God, the world, like America's ending. I got to jump ship. Look, I think that the world is a very interconnected place, certainly the West. And I think that Europe has the advantage of living outside of that soup on the charger, let's say, looking into it and being able to critique from it, and has benefited a great deal from being able to do so, and has also been benefited a great deal from America up until fairly recently saying, we'll have military bases in Europe for you. We will protect you. You just have to make, cheese and wine and clothes and do all the things that we love that we can't make, and we can keep buying them. And I don't think that Donald Trump is ending those things. I think those things were ending. Those things were the world's changing, and Donald Trump is a symptom of it. I'm not making a rationalization for Donald Trump, but I think that he is the result of both American parties and a lot of the cultures that we live in ultimately privileging some groups of people over others. And realizing that there might be multiple rhetorics in the world, but that the people that are underserved will always be underserved, and they will be poorer, and they will be less served, right? And so the system was always that. I don't think it was ever this idea that it wasn't, right? Like there was this idea of middle class, and sure, like if everyone has a barbecue, then we're selling tons of barbecues, and everyone has a car, and everyone has the house, and whatever.
Well, the idea of a meritocracy in which people can rise up from humble beginnings and live the dream, the American dream. I mean, that is, you're right. I mean, that is something that Europeans romanticize about America.
It still exists. The long and short of it is, I think that there's this us and them with Europe and America, and maybe it was always there. Maybe Donald Trump has exposed those fissures and kind of brought them to the surface. But what Americanness means to me, and I can only speak from my perspective, I'm 51, I have a very specific perspective. I don't know what Gen Z feels. I don't know what Alpha feels. I have this trope that I say, there's this thing that I say, it's not a trope. I say it's not a trope. But I don't think it will land well, but I will say it because it's how I feel, and I'm open to be challenged. I say this thing that French people are obsessed with Americans. They hate Americans because they don't follow the rules. They love Americans because we don't have to follow the rules. Donald Trump and Andy Warhol are products of the same soup. The things that creates Rauschenberg, Jasper Johns, Philip Glass, all these people that have been visionary Americans have done so because they didn't have to follow the rules, right? They just, what are the rules? Gives you a lot of bad things too. Gives you a figure like Donald Trump that gives a lot of people hope that, and he is not batting for them, but he's giving people hope that those people have never been spoken to. I'm not strictly complimenting America. I like the no rule system, but it does give you Donald Trump also.
Yeah. Living now, as I have in France for 6 years, I agree that, the kind of inside the box thinking of many French people is quite extraordinary, and I mean that in terms of taste to some extent. It's quite conservative.
Right. France exports taste. That is the biggest French export. And it's their biggest ammunition, which I actually don't think they've ever used as effectively as they could have, to be perfectly honest. Because I think the French, well, you also have a world collapse, right? People don't like wine and cheese anymore because it's bad for you and all this other stuff. So that might play into it. But, Americans, since wealth started, in America wanted French things, wanted French chefs, wanted, right, because that was the epitome of refinement, was France, and in many ways it still is. Those rules do give you that refinement, right?
Yes.
They give you the good wine, they give you the cheese, they know how to make all these things, they know how to do it better than anyone because they've been doing and perfecting it over and over again. And so whatever's happening in America, and I don't like a lot of what I'm seeing, I just want to be clear, right? Like, I'm not just an innocent bystander. I don't like what I'm seeing in America. I think it sucks and it doesn't feel very American. But I still feel like I embody the virtues and like the optimism and the hope and promise that America is as a concept. However dimmed that is now on the global stage, I do feel like I want to live in that bubble. I want, and I do. I do, and I want to perpetuate that bubble.
We've mentioned it before, and I feel like you keep referring to this kind of cloaking, or as you just put it, or sort of enlightenment that has happened in your life. And I wanted to ask you about the Hoffman process. I'm so interested in it. As I told you yesterday, at some point in my life, I'd love to go and undertake it myself. But how has that affected you in your life, and has it changed the way that you operate from a business point of view, the way you lead or any of that?
I get reviewed alongside all of my employees.
Right, like a full 360.
Yeah, I get reviewed. We have a fractional CEO. So I get reviewed by him. He takes a poll, like, and it's the way we do it. Like we give employees like our perspective, but then also from leadership, but also here's kind of like a sampling from the team, but it's not, it's anonymous. You don't know. So my review went well last time, and people acknowledged that post Hoffman, I was a much kinder person, right? And I think I'm a kinder person because I own my vulnerabilities now, and the secrets that I kept, I now realize I am more powerful by sharing the things that I was scared the world would know about me. And I think that those things are always scary, and they're still scary to some degree, and there's still things that I still like, right? Like I still think twice about posting a picture of Kale and I on Valentine's Day, because I think some clients may not like that I'm posting my like alternative gay lifestyle, or something like that. Like those thoughts do run through my mind. I think that sharing that vulnerability, it is so mind blowing. I mean, it is literally the definition of mind blowing. Like, oh shit, I can say this out loud, and now you don't have this over me. You can't, like
you, like the kind of anonymous specter of everybody that could come at you.
Yeah, like I think it's an interesting thing. But anyway, I think that what Hoffman, I don't really know what your question is actually.
Well, I was wondering how it impacts you. I suppose I should have started, because many people listening won't actually have heard of the Hoffman process. I probably should have started with, can you summarize it?
Well, the Hoffman process has gotten like a little trendy lately, for better or worse. But I mean, look, it's not a bad thing. I think French Vogue, or one of the, or like French Vogue or AD France, like some French magazine put like the best, like the top 10 retreats and spas and retreats in the world, and like they put a Hoffman process in it, and I was like, I don't know what who this journalist is, but it's definitely not a retreat or a spa. It's a retreat for sure, but it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a time commitment that is much larger than your job or things like that. Like you start at 7 a.m. and you end it. So it's a 7-day long process that happens in parts all over the world. In America, it happens in California, which is where I did it, and Connecticut. And 2 campuses, but there's campuses sort of like, I think, it's like 10 campuses throughout Europe. They just opened one in China. And the basic idea is, Bob Hoffman's idea was that, you can't think your way into new ways of behaving. You have to behave your way into new ways of thinking. I don't know if that is the principal tenet of Hoffman. It is to me.
It's succinct and easy to kind of grasp.
Yeah. For me it is. And that is its big difference from like psychology or therapy or lots of these other things that I've also done my whole life and continue to do so, which is a sort of intellectual approach to emotional problems. Mm-hmm. And Hoffman is an emotional approach. I will go so far as to say it's a somatic approach. It is very somatic. Like, you are in workout clothes, you are sweating, you are doing stuff from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every night, those 7 days. And then you have these 2 extra days called integration weekend. So it's 9 days total, but they say you do those 2 days on your own and you get this workbook, and you do have 4 or 5 hours of homework to do in those 2 days. There's a lot of weird shit that I actually don't. I'm like, how the fuck does this work? But it does. Like, they've perfected this weird system that really some things are, well, the whole thing feels very unorthodox. It just feels like, you're like, is this really happening? Like, am I really doing that? Like, some of it's like really weird, but most of the work is done in the large group, right? And you benefit from the group. You benefit from the anonymity of these people. You can't talk about your career, really where you're from, who you are. There's this like kind of equalization, and people talk about their darkest secrets. And you don't have to worry too much about getting there because they know how to get you there. They know how to get you to say something you've never even really thought about very much. Like, they're good at saying that, and at getting you to vocalize that. And the positive thing is that now all those things have come back to me. Some of those are painful things, right? That like I never wanted to think about or see again. But a lot of those things are things that give me a lot of power and give me a lot of joy. It's easy to be positive when things are going your way or the way that you want them to be. That's not what optimism is. Optimism is like staring into the face of defeat and thinking that things are going to go well. And knowing that you can make it good for yourself right now, right? Because that's the only thing you can control. If you think of like wokeism has been like creating these like safe spaces or safe space for different types of people to not be triggered. Hoffman is like, the trigger exists. There's nothing you can do. You can't dim the trigger. You can't fix the trigger. No. But you can diffuse the bomb that's inside of you that is being triggered. You can do that. Like that, and that's the only thing you can do. At a different time, I may not have considered these things as like kind of rallying cries, but kind of like a lot of the things that I've been reading, and I've been on this like wellness journey or mental health journey, let's say for 10 years, Hoffman really like kind of like broke it, just kind of like cracked it open. Interestingly, heated rivalry has also brought up lots of things, because I've acknowledged like I have never seen this in popular culture. I have never seen two men have a romantic. I've never seen gay men in pop culture not be represented as a punchline, as like a comedy, right? Or a villain, right? Like a man with feminine qualities who's like a bad person or something like that. Heated rivalry has really done a lot. Won't get into heated rivalry, but thinking about like,
it's a series?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it either. I mean, I now want to watch it.
Well, it's actually mind blowing that it was only just launched in America, in France now, but it's been in America since like Thanksgiving, so like 2 months. Okay. Are you not on Instagram?
I mean, I am, but I guess the algorithm pushes at you more of what you've already been looking at.
So interesting. I
haven't seen it.
It's a pretty big cultural phenomenon. Like people are pretty mind blown. I mean, it's surpassed Game of Thrones. So HBO has ordered 2 more seasons because it's already like this really popular thing. It's basically about two gay hockey players that have this 10-year, decade-long secret romance, but they are like arch rivals in the world of hockey. They are like the alpha athletes in this world. And I won't get into heated rivalry because there's a lot of commentary. And I actually think whenever I talk about it, some people think it's kind of funny. And I actually, again, as I said, a lot of things in pop culture have been much more meaningful to me than I think a lot of people think like pop culture is the superfluous throwaway thing. No, it's actually the thing that directs culture. It's not Bach. Okay. It's not Freud. It's this. It's the cartoons you watch. It's the movies you watch. It's the clothes you wear. The everyday things are the things that actually build the world that you live in. So pay attention to Heated Rivalry over Brokeback Mountain, because Brokeback Mountain was a movie not in wide release that only a few people watched. It was a high culture film. Heated Rivalry has like broken lots of stereotypes of what, shelf that.
Well, no, now I'm so excited to see it.
There's a lot. I actually have a thing where a lot of straight men. So you kind of like, there's a joke. I saw this like comedian the other day say that like, she was like, I was signing up for hockey smut. I did not know I was signing up for actual black tar heroin. The show is very addictive. It's like 6 episodes. These 2 super sexy guys like naked all the time having sex. You think that's why you're watching it. It's not why you're watching it. Like there's a whole romance side that you're like, wow, this is like pretty amazing. Naomi Fry wrote about it in the New Yorker in a really interesting way, where she kind of like diagnoses it, or kind of like breaks it open as this kind of cultural phenomenon. What are the things about it that are touching so many things? And it's not high art. It's not that. It's not Brokeback Mountain, right? It is something else. But I guess shelving that to some degree, I think that a lot of wellness things that I've heard in my life now make sense to me, or they call to me in a way that they didn't before, right? Like Pema Chodron and her saying that the present moment is the only thing you actually have. There's really nothing else you have. And that you think that we live trying to control the future. And that is the thing. She's like, that is a futile battle. You will lose. You will lose. You cannot control the future. You can only control this moment. She said, the thing you're constant is change. You are never on solid ground. Everything is always changing around you. Like, I don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. I'm excited to see, And I like what's happening today, or I don't like what's happening today. How can I change it so I do like this today a little bit better? Ironically, the algorithms do work for me in some ways, and I do find that they like give me a lot of these wellness things that I sift through that are powerful. I found this Maya Angelou quote where she's interviewed in 1987 on BBC. I don't know what for. The writes Mavis, and she's kind of questioning her. Asking her why she's changed so many times, that most people don't really make so many changes in their life. Like she's been like, house of prostitution, singer, poet, like all these things. And her answer is, casually, she's like, well, I'm in process. Like we are in process. This is all constantly evolving, right? Like we are changing. Mavis like presses her and Maya Angelou says, look, I love this moment sitting here with you in this chair and the lights and the directors. But in an hour, this will all be gone. And it won't ever happen this way again. And I'll be, in my hotel room and I'll be going to sleep. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going back to Ghana where I now live. And, I'm going, then I teach in North Carolina. And Mavis, again, keeps pressing her on like, no, but most people stay in the same house, stuff like that. And for whatever reason, Maya Angelou doesn't really care for the question. I think she doesn't want to answer it, but she says, I didn't come here to stay. I didn't come to London to stay, and I didn't come to this earth to stay. And I feel like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have been so scared to think that. And now I feel like it's such a liberating thing to think like, oh, I didn't come here to stay. Like all of this will end.
Yeah.
And that makes me want today to be as great as it can possibly be. As cheesy as that sounds, I feel like that's such like I have a friend who was telling me she was going to do the Hoffman process in England. I'm telling this to an English person. I was like, do not. I was like, do not do it in England. I was like, you have to do it in America, where people are going to be like emotional and like, and I'm sure that they know how to deal with like, cultural.
Emotionally uptight English people.
Yeah. But I think that this idea that like, this is the only thing we can control, like this actual moment, that's not unfortunate. That's cool. Because that's all you have, right? Make this moment as great as it possibly can be.
A little more about our partner. In 2026, Cahiers d'Art celebrates its centennial, 100 years at the heart of modernism. To mark the occasion, Cahiers d'Art will stage a global program, exhibitions at the Musée Picasso in Paris, at the MoMA in New York, and the Guggenheim Collection in Venice, among others. Alongside these, a landmark centennial book and new editions of the historic Revue will honor a century of creativity while opening a new chapter for the future. Discover more at cahierdart.com. You have a current contract with Piaget.
I do.
And this is a long way you've come from those sort of, the accidental Parker Posey loss-making job to now brand direction and designing the new store for Piaget in Place Vendôme, which is probably, if not the most storied address for retail in the world. What do you reflect on? Like, how did that happen? When you kind of think this is exciting and I've really arrived?
Well, I don't. So I guess
you never think that.
No. Well, whenever I think that like something is the thing that's like delivering me to this like establishment that I have always wanted, like it isn't. But I think you're also always moving the goalpost, right? You keep moving the goalpost. The thing that most interests me about Piaget specifically, or any client really, is I really used my talents, like whether those be my personality, how I talk to people, how I'm able to convince people that I'm the right person for the job, or whatever, right? Like I have been able to do this thing, and I haven't relied on a lot of the things that a lot of my peers rely on. And I'm not gonna like look, I'm not jealous of them. I have been many, many, many times in my life, but I'm not now because I realize that it has allowed me to do different things. So whilst I love the actual store design of Piaget, I think that to me, the important thing is that was never in the cards for me. That was literally the world I didn't come from. I didn't have access to it, And so to look at it from the other side and engineer desirability to the class of people that I always wanted to be, that I never was a part of, is an interesting thing, right? And that's just a fancy way to say, again, I've exceeded all my expectations. If someone said you're going to design a store in Place Vendôme one day, I wouldn't have believed it, But that goes with everything else, right? Like I actually wouldn't have believed I was ever going to like design a yacht. I would never have believed I was going to have access to so many things that I've had access, so many things that my career has given me access to. I'm so grateful. And I think that because I was constantly moving the goalposts before, I couldn't actually engage gratitude. And now I engage gratitude. So I like this design of the store. That's not the point. The point is like, I've been able to break into something that in my mind wasn't meant for me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that feels like an achievement of some kind.
A question that I'm always interested in asking people is if you had a dream project, no time constraints, no budgetary constraints, just something you'd like to see done, is there a dream?
I don't know if there is a big, like the big dream, but I will say that this idea of like a flash mob represents something like a lot to me. There's this there's a Halloween parade in New York that is like it's like a very big deal. And I actually like, there's so many things that I don't like about New York right now. And I spend less and less time there. And the Halloween parade is just like, I'm like, God, I love this city so much. And the thing that I love the most about it is the thriller. They've been doing it for probably like 15 years. Like, there is a nonprofit group of people that teach like 500 people the Thriller dance from the Michael Jackson Thriller video. And at one point in the parade, you don't know who those people are. They come out of the crowd and they like 500 people like do the Thriller thing. I want that every day, all the time. It's not Thriller. That idea that we are all connected is actually the way we're meant to live. We are meant to enjoy things with each other, be kind to each other, and find the best possible qualities in each other so that we can flash mob every day. That we pinball through life like reacting to other people. I know that's not the answer to the question. I can give you lots of things that I would like to do. But again, as I said, I'm always moving the goalposts, and as is everyone else. And I never feel like, I've arrived. But the dream is to live in this dynamic world where I am communicating with as many people as possible and making the world a better place, however incrementally that is. And we are all doing that, right? And that's actually leading. I mean, I sound like a Hoffman cult member, but there is this there's like a Hoffman like thing, or it's like written or something, like it's like making the world better one person at a time. It's such a dumb thing. I would have laughed at that 10 years ago. I would have made fun of that, and like, how sad that I made fun of things like that. Like, no, that's what we live for. We live to like be together. And see the world together, be moved together, understand the human condition together, look at the sun together, and look at how like fucking awesome it is. And like, actually in Bewilderment, those Richard Powers books, but this one specific book, Bewilderment, Over Stories, the sort of super famous Richard Powers book written Bewilderment, is a little boy. It's like the protagonist of the book, and he's reading something about photosynthesis, and he says to his dad, he's like 8 years old, he says, "Dad, plants eat light." He's like, who needs science fiction? And I really feel that way. Like, I'm like, we are floating through the universe on this spinning rock. We are, to quote Avi Loeb, the matter we are made of was produced in the hearts of giant stars that exploded. Like, under the rarest of circumstances, the rarest possible circumstances, we are alive at the same time. That's a fucking miracle. Like, if that doesn't make you think that like the universe is like this all-knowing wisdom, right? That's awesome. Like, that is like such an exciting, like, how could your day, like, we live on a fucking rock that's like floating and spinning in two directions, like going around a ball of fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, who fucking needs science fiction? Like, that's our reality right now. So like, if you think of the world that way and like what we're doing, you're kind of like, oh, everything's pretty exciting. I'm on like some sort of like double helix Ferris wheel,
I mentioned to you that I have a 5-year-old daughter. She's really in this phase at the moment where all she does is ask questions. She's so curious about everything. And at the moment, she's fascinated with the weather. She's like, so why is the cloud white? Why are there different shapes of cloud? Some of these are just kind of meteorological questions, which I feel sort of ignorant that I'm unable to give really good answers to because I must have learned it. That she looks at the world and with real wonder at the moment, and she's just fascinated by everything and why does a ladybird have spots? Why do some of them have more spots than others? Very good question.
I mean, the best you can do is teach her to never lose that wonder, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the more questions, the more curious you are, and I think that there's the science of what a cloud is, And then there's just like
the fact that the clouds exist.
The fact that the clouds exist. I mean, I was just thinking about this snowing the other day, and I was like, it's so crazy that ice crystals fall from the sky. I mean, it's just like such a crazy thing when you think about it. Everything that's good already exists. It's already here. So we have all the ingredients. We can kind of keep putting them together in different ways.
I would just like to finish with a few like relatively quick fire, lightweight questions. Is there any piece of advice that you remember being given, good or bad, that has stuck with you? And the other side of the coin, is there advice that you give either to people in your profession or just, good life advice?
So Bob Somel was this teacher that I had in architecture school who I wasn't actually particularly close to. But I remember he said something about success, and he said, don't chase it. Just do what you want to do. And success, if you're authentic and you keep honoring that and building on it and doing it better, success will come to you, whatever that means, right? And success, I think, typically means financial success, and I don't think he meant it that way. And I now realize that isn't actually. I mean, yes, I want money, but like that isn't the success I'm chasing.
That's great. I like that. And do you have a favorite restaurant, or not necessarily a favorite, maybe one that you've recently been to that you thought, wow, that was great? And where do you go in Paris?
In Paris, I'm really bad at this. I'm like not much of an adventurer in food. I am, but not in restaurants. I like Chateau Le Voltaire, Quai Voltaire, which is like I'm full of Americans these days. But a classic. But I do love it. I feel like it's like I'm like this Côte de Boeuf here in this room. I'm like, life is pretty good. Like it's, pretty great.
And then a book or the last book that made an impression on you, if pinning it down to one is too hard.
There's so many books that have really informed me. I was actually, there's a book called The Sparrow.
You're not the first person to mention it to me.
Well, it's a book that I love because it combines like spirituality with science fiction, which I do like actually. It's like a kind of, my aim, like what I'm always looking for is science fiction, but the book is very much science fiction, but it is also this like very kind of spiritual book.
Okay. Well, on this note, I will let you go. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank
you so much for being so generous with your time and with your ideas. And I hope I'll see you again in Paris before too long, because the last time was a decade ago.
I know, it was a long time ago, but we're here now.
We're here now.
And that's what matters.
And actually, that was thanks to Lena Esteviva, who was my very first guest on Compelling.
Oh, cool. I love her. I spent a really good time with her in Florence a few months ago. Yeah. She really made a case for like moving to Florence. I was like, not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's an honor to join your guest list. So I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Compelling. I've been overwhelmed by encouragement and positivity since beginning this podcast. If you'd like to support, please share, follow, and subscribe wherever you access your podcasts. It really helps the show to grow. Thank you for listening to Compelling.